Welcome back. In this video and the next and probably the second next, so the next 2 or maybe 3 videos, we are going to set up this functionality here where you can swipe something from the left. Well, it's a little more difficult with the mouse than it is on the actual device. So you can open up this setting here or this drawer in which you can then go to profiles, sign out, and then potentially add more stuff later on. And we can also see currently the name of the application. Later on it will be replaced by the username and then also the user image. So that's the idea of this feature. And of course we will also have this little burger icon which also adds this functionality or opens up this drawer. Okay, so this will take quite some time to set up, so be prepared for quite some XML stuff and then also some coding. So in this video we are going to start with all of the XML stuff, and I think in the next one we should be at the point where we can start with the Kotlin stuff so that it will be displaying also when using this icon button here. All right, so let's get started. Let's go to our activity main, and here what we can do is we can just take all of the code and put it into a separate file. So we're going to use this file called main_content XML and then paste it in here. So instead of having our hello world text view, which will later on be replaced of course with our recycler view, instead of having that in our activity main XML, we are going to have that in the main content. Okay, so the activity main XML will be our entry point, so to speak, to the activity, but in here we are going to then prepare everything else. So we're going to send to the different files, of course. So it's not going to be everything in one file, it's going to be in multiple files. Okay, so if we look at it, we have multiple aspects of our application, multiple parts of our application. So we have this top part here, then we have this menu here, then we have an app bar, then we have a content main. So we have a bunch of different sections, and of course this here is a navigation drawer, so a lot of stuff that we use here. So let's start with this one where I'm using a drawer layout. So here, drawer layout, and inside of this drawer layout, I of course need to add some more settings, for example, the namespaces and so forth. So I'm just gonna put that in here and talk about it. So we have the namespaces, and this one is never used, but it's okay. So we have the namespaces, the tools, and then we give this drawer layout an ID. So our whole activity main is gonna be a drawer layout. Then it's gonna have the ID here. It's going to match parent in height and width, and I'm setting the fits system windows to true. What that will do is it will allow us to adjust the UI accordingly. So it's just going to adjust view layout based on system windows such as the status bar. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. Then we set the drawer to be open in the settings. Of course, we don't see anything yet because the drawer is empty, but we will of course add stuff in here now. Okay, so let's do that. First of all, I'm going to include something. I'm going to include a new file, which is going to be layout, and you don't have this file yet, so you will need to create it. Add layout app bar main. Okay, so you can just enter this and then right click or click on it and create this file. So this is what we're going to include. It's the same thing as we will later on inside of this file do in order to get the main content to be displaying as well. Now we need to give it a height and width for this layout. So let's do that real quick. Width match parent, height match parent. And then inside of my drawer layout, underneath this include, what I would like to have is a navigation view. Navigation, so open navigation view, so this one here, and it also needs a width. I'm going to use rip content, and the height I'm going to use match parent here for the height. Then I'm going to assign an ID here for it, which I'm going to call nav view. So ID is going to be nav_view. Then I'm going to give it some gravity. I'm going to say that fit system is also going to be like the other setting that we had. So fit system windows set to true. And then what I also need to have in here, or want to have in here, is the header layout. So there is this header layout, and therefore I create a new file. So add layout nav header main, and you can type in the whole text and then also auto create this file once you have entered this, because it will appear as an error. So create this file, and then I need a menu. So app menu, and this one will be my activity main drawer. So you also need to create this file. So just enter add menu / activity main drawer, and then auto create that once you hover over it. So in your case, it will just be red, right? Like here. And then you can hover over it and say create menu resource file activity main drawer. Just do it as is, and then you'll see it will create this menu for you. And it will also create this new menu folder in which the activity main drawer now will be. So now that we have included that, we can go to our app bar main and design that. Then we can design the activity main drawer, then we can design the nav header main, and then we can go over to our main content as well. So this one, well, actually we have designed that one as well already, even though we still of course need to put a recycler view in there later on. For now it's just this content which says hello world, right? But later on it should be of course a list view or a recycler view which displays all of the different boards that we are assigned to or that we have created. Okay, so now let's go to our app bar main. Here what I want to have is an app bar layout. So let's create an app bar layout, and it's gonna match the parent in width and wrap the content in height. Also, I'll give it a theme. So theme will be add style, and I'm not sure whether we have it here. So it's gonna be an app theme. Well, let's just do it like this, app theme, and then it's not no action bar, but it's app bar overlay. All right, so we will need to also create a style. So let's just go over and create this. So create value, and I'm just gonna create it like this, and let's go over to our values here in the resources folder. There we go to styles, and now we have this app bar overlay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that it has a parent which will be theme overlay app compat dark action bar, and here dark dot action bar. Okay, so this is just the style for now. We can of course then edit the style as we want. So for now we just take the parent of app theme overlay app compat dark action bar, but if we want later on we can style it even more in here. All right, and while we're in here, let's also create another style which will be the pop-up overlay, which we're going to use later on, which is going to be this one. So app theme pop-up overlay, and we'll have the parent of theme overlay app compat light. Okay, so now we can use it in here in our app bar main. And then the next thing we need to set up here, of course, is going to be a toolbar. So let's go ahead and create a toolbar in there inside of this app bar layout. And by the way, you can see it's still complaining here. That is because probably it doesn't have a content. So let's just add the content and see if the bug or if the error disappears. So Android X app compat widget toolbar. So that's the one I want to use in there. And now let's design it. So let's give it an ID first. The ID will be toolbar underscore or toolbar underscore main activity. Then the layout width will be match parent. The layout height will be just the height of the action bar size. So maybe you remember how to do it. We get the attribute and then we use the action bar size. So we say it should be as high as the action bar, and then we can also assign a background color if we want to. So I'm just gonna say it should use the attribute called color primary. And then finally, I'm gonna add a pop-up theme. And here we need to import app. So let's create the namespace declaration here at the top. You can see it added it now for us. And now we can use pop-up theme, which will be our style. And here it's the pop-up overlay style that we created. All right. And here it's still complaining, well, because it needs the constraints, but I don't want to add all of those constraints in here. I'm just gonna replace the constraint layout with a coordinator layout, just like that. All right. So this will be our app bar, the one here at the top. All right. Now let's go over to our nav header main. So we need to design this one as well. And I'm not going to use a constraint layout here. I'm just going to use a linear layout. This makes my life a lot easier in this case. So what I will need in here is a background. So I'm just going to use a background of nav header main background. So at drawable / nav _ header _ main _ background. So we will need to create this file as well, or we will need to import it, which is just going to be another XML file. Then I want this to be gravitating towards the bottom. So gravity bottom, then orientation is going to be vertical. So that stuff is put on top of each other. And then the theme is going to be our theme overlay, which is going to be the dark version. So dark. So basically this nav header main is going to take care of this part here at the top. So I want this to be this background, which is this, well, background that you can see here. So there's a gradient. And then I want to have, of course, the icon, which is this rounded icon, and then a text underneath it. So how do we add rounded icons? Well, we need to add another dependency. So we've worked with this dependency before when we worked with rounded icons. So we will need to go to our Gradle and add a certain line to it. So let's go over, build Gradle, and add the implementation here, which is this implementation. So H Dodenhof circle image view 3.1.0, and of course don't forget to sync it. So at this point I totally understand that this might be a little confusing, how I'm creating all of these different XML files and so many different XML files which are interlinked with each other and so forth. But in the end, if you look at this screen here, we have an app bar, then we have a main content, this part here, which we can design however we want, but we don't want to have all of those different things open at the same time, because we also have this whole UI or whole XML file, which consists of two XML parts. So this top part, and then this one here is a menu with different items. Okay, so we have this menu with different items, which we haven't designed yet. So activity main drawer XML, which is this one here with the menu in the background, where we will need to add those two things here. And then we have this top part, which is what we have already prepared. So this nav header main, this is going to be the one. And then, yeah, that's how all of those XML files come together. All right, so let's make a little break here. It is a lot of XML, and it really makes sense for me to go through it this time a little more in depth, because we have skipped a lot of XML before, but we haven't never used a drawer such as this one. So I think it makes sense to really go over this a little more in depth. So let's go ahead and finish the XML part in the next video. And then afterwards, we're going to add the Kotlin code. All right, so see you there.